For more on that, let's cross live to our correspondent Jessica Stone, who's been following Wang Yi's U.S. trip. Jessica, in Foreign Minister Wang Yi's speech, he called for building a new model of relationship between China and the United States. Tell us more about this new model.
Well, it's something, of course, that was agreed upon during the Sunnylands visit between the two presidents, and something that diplomats privately in the United States, at least, have said there's not a common understanding on both sides necessarily on what that means. The Americans want to see a major country responsibility if there's to be a major country relationship between the new nations. And I think what you heard from Foreign Minister Wang Yi concerning that is that China is certainly willing to accept major country relationship and responsibilities but up to a point, in light of the fact that they're still a developing economy and a developing country. But that is something that Foreign Minister Wang Yi certainly came here to talk about in Washington, certainly something he likely raised with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry as well as U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel earlier today. And he also met with Vice President Joe Biden. All of these great opportunities for him to work on building increased cooperation between U.S. diplomats and Chinese diplomats in light of what was agreed upon at Sunnylands a few months ago.
Jessica, we know Wang Yi is going to wrap up his U.S. visit very soon. So what do you think are the highlights of his three-day trip?
Well, I think just about a couple of hours ago, the speech that he made at the Brookings Institution here in Washington, D.C., one of the interesting areas where he sees a great opportunity for increased cooperation between China and the United States is on Afghanistan. He was quite plain that many of the values that China holds, that the United States holds as well in relation to that country, that neither country wants to see a resurgence of terrorism. Both countries want to see reconstruction that is effective, and both of them are concerned about the long-term picture for a post-2014 Afghanistan after American and coalition troops pull out of that country. He said that China can play a very effective role in terms of helping with economic reconstruction in the nation of Afghanistan. I can tell you 4 years ago when I was in Kabul, many buildings were built from Chinese materials. And of course, there's a relationship with much of the mining industry between China and Afghanistan, especially the copper mining industry. So there's some natural affiliations, if you will, between China and Afghanistan, and a good opportunity, he says, to work together, making sure that Afghanistan remains stable going forward after the troops pull out.
Jessica, Wang Yi also reiterated China's stance on Syria. So how has the United States responded?
Well, his message tonight to the American reporters, diplomats, and professional analysts, if you will, was very much the same as the one he gave to U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, saying that China does not support the use of chemical weapons anywhere at any time, but staying clear of assigning any blame as to who used the chemical weapons in Syria on August 21st in particular. Once again calling for a diplomatic solution, a political solution in Syria. And what we've seen in terms of a response from the United States is that they've been frank about the fact that they agree with China to a limited point that there should be a political solution there. But the United States has not at all backed away from its intent to use the military option, to keep it on the table, if nothing else, to enforce and make sure that the diplomatic progress that has been made thus far continues to go forward, in particular with the UN resolution that will allow military force if those chemical weapons are not revealed by Syria and if those chemical weapons are not destroyed.
On Syria, China is firmly opposed to the use of chemical weapons by any country or individual. We believe that political settlement is the only right way out in diffusing the Syrian crisis. We support an early launch of the process to destroy Syria's chemical weapons. At the same time, a Geneva II should be held as soon as possible, thus bringing the Syrian issue back to the track of political settlement.
So what you heard there from Foreign Minister Wang Yi was essentially a two-track solution is what they're looking for, but that other track is not military action, whereas it likely is for the United States and the French and other Western allies. It remains to be seen what will happen at the United Nations this week during the General Assembly and whether or not the UN Security Council will in fact hold this vote that would give some sort of Chapter 7 consequence if such chemical weapons are not destroyed, as I said, and not revealed fully as though to completely obliterate the program whatsoever. Back to you.
Thank you very much indeed. Our correspondent Jessica Stone in Washington.